if you use the Lagna Lord's Lagna and combine it with the D1 chart, the main Lagna chart, and the D9 chart and the Navamsa chart, then you get the most potent results.
Please like my videos, please subscribe to my channel, and please press the bell icon so that you get to know when my latest video has come. And to learn more and to find a video relevant to you, please do check out my videos list.
Hello, namaskar and adab to all my friends from your friend astrologer and guide Irfan. Once more with you from your very own channel, Astro Assurance. In the light of seeing different techniques, different approaches to how we can get the predictions right, how we can get the results right through how we use the different divisional charts, the D1 chart, the D9 chart, the Dashamsa chart, and the various Lagnas, the Rudha Lagna that we use, and some other Lagnas like the Upapada Lagna that we use. One way to confirm what we are getting out of the results of the D1 chart and the Navamsa is to use these divisional charts as well. So, for example, we may use the Upapada Lagna to validate some of the results along with the Navamsa related to marriage, related to relations. We may use the Arudha Lagna to also see how the major events of life can be predicted using it along with the D1 chart and of course the D9 chart and maybe the Dashamsa also when we are relating it to career. We may use the Hindu Lagna to relate whether we are able to validate whether a person is able to make wealth or money or assets through his D1 chart or through his D1 chart's placements to the dignity of different planets, of course combining it with the other charts also, and in lieu with the D9 chart, the Navamsa also. So different Lagnas also gave us the validation of what we are able to see through the D1 chart and maybe the D9 chart or other divisional charts as well. So this is a good method to validate it through the different divisional charts. But one very potent method, which is almost like a foolproof method, if used in line with the D1 chart and the D9 chart, is the use of the Lagna of the Lagna Lord. Now, what do I mean by it? What I mean by it is that wherever your Lagna Lord is placed, the ruler of the ascendant, convert that into the main Lagna and from that you see results, then you will be able to see that it will be very potently giving you more or less the same results or predicting more or less the same results that you are able to see through the D1 chart, validate it through the D9 chart, and sometimes more intricate details which you may have missed while seeing the D1 chart and the D9 chart. The placement of the Lagna Lord and converting that into the Lagna will give you the final dissemination, the final results of where the person's certain results may be coming from, events of the life may be coming from, probability may be coming from, and some almost guaranteed results or events or situations in the life may be coming from. So let's deep dive and see how when we combine the results of the D1 chart and the D9 chart along with converting the Lagna Lord's placement into the Lagna and then see the results will give us potent results. And mind you, the biggest results that come out from this is the placement of the Bhrigu Bindu in the change or converted Lagna using the Lagna Lord. So let's jump in and see how we can see more potent results, more dire results sometimes also, or very clear results when we are able to use the Lagna of the Lagna Lord. Now friends, let's see the prediction that we can see for this particular person. This person is a female. She's born on the 6th of May 1974 at 2 p.m. in Kerala, a state in India. It's close to the place called Madikeri, and so it's giving the almost the same chart. Even at the very closest village that she was born in, so I'm using Madikeri as the place which is closest to the village she was born in, because I'm not able to get the latitude and longitude of the exact village. So the chart comes out as follows. This is her Rasi chart or her D1 chart, where her ascendant is Leo. Ascendant Lord Sun is an exaltation sign in the 9th house, but in the nakshatra of Bharani. placed with Mercury, and this is an important denotation where the Lagna Lord is placed in the nakshatra of Bharani, ruled by Mercury, because the nakshatra Lord of Sun, the Lagna Lord is Venus, Bharani being the nakshatra, and its ruler Venus is placed in the 8th house while ruling the 10th house of career. So this is an important denotation which will come out more potently as we go forward. Secondly, Moon is placed in the 3rd house while ruling the 12th house. Rahu is placed in the 4th, Ketu is in the 10th. Jupiter, for the lady, which also denotes husband, rules the 8th house and placed in the 7th house. So these are very potent results concerning her marriage and the results of her marriage also. Then her second lord of face, mouth, teeth, which is Mercury, is placed with the Lagna Lord in the nakshatra of Bharani, in the 9th house of long distance travel. And then Mars, which rules her 9th house where Sun is placed in the sign of Gemini, ruled by Mercury. Mercury also rules the 2nd house, face, mouth, teeth, as we have seen. So these are very potent results. And then her Navamsa, her D9 chart has her Lagna Lord Sun placed in a debilitation sign in the 3rd house of using hands, limbs. Now, her Lagnas are both Vargottama, both D1 chart and the D9 chart are Vargottama, which means it has the same ascendant of Leo. So this is important because this will give us more stronger results when we using, as we go forward, using the Lagna Lord and using the Lagna of the Lagna Lord. So Sun goes in debilitation. Secondly, you will see Venus, which rules the 10th house, also goes in debilitation and is placed with Ketu in the 2nd house, ruled by Mercury. And now Mercury goes into the Scorpio sign in the 4th house of domestic life. So her Rahu place in the 4th house gives her residence abroad. Jupiter ruling the 8th house placed in the 7th house gives her a husband connected with the 8th house. Her 10th lord goes into the 8th house, which means she is also in the same profession which her husband is connected to. And then in the D9 chart, Jupiter goes into the 8th house and with Rahu. Now important is her Bhrigu Bindu in her natal chart, in the D1 chart, is in the 10th house itself, but Ketu is placed there, which shows that in her own career she may not be able to get very fantastic results from a material perspective. But when you look at the D9 chart, the Bhrigu Bindu is going into the 8th house, which connects her 10th house of career with the 8th house strongly. One, her 10th lord in the D1 chart being Venus and placed in the 8th house, and in the Navamsa, the placement of Jupiter and Rahu in the 8th house, which means a lot of her career will be connected to the 8th house, and 8th house has also Rahu and Jupiter here. So Bhrigu Bindu going into the 8th house. So her career itself will be in foreign lands connected to 8th house. And Jupiter is also placed there, which means later on in life, she may face adverse results or potent results connected to a married life also, because her Jupiter is in the 8th house. So her Bhrigu Bindu being her karma is related to that. However, Jupiter is also 8th lord and going in the demon chart in the 7th house, connecting 8th house results with Jupiter. So what does this mean? So firstly, 10th lord Venus in the 8th house and exaltation in Pisces. So profession connected with digging out and extracting. Since Venus is also 2nd lord in Kalpurush and placed in the nakshatra of Uttara Bhadrapada, ruled by Saturn, and Saturn placed with Mars in the 11th house. So the profession is getting connected with digging out or dentistry, because 2nd house being the house of face, mouth, ruled by Mercury. Mercury is placed with the Lagna Lord Sun, and Sun and Mercury both on the nakshatra of Bharani, ruled by Venus. Venus is also the 2nd lord in the Kalpurush Kundli and related to the face, mouth and beautification. Teeth also are important for beautification of a face. Crooked teeth will not make us look very beautiful. So her profession is getting connected to dentistry because 10th lord Venus in exaltation, which means she will do well. However, Ketu placed in the 10th house means she will not rise to huge riches materialistically, though she may do very well in terms of acknowledgement and appreciation from her customers. Then Venus also rules the third house of using limbs and communication. So using her limbs, using the hands which used to dig out and extract in dentistry. And in the Navamsa, Mercury is in the fourth house, aspected by Jupiter from the eighth house, which also shows the spouse is also getting connected with the eighth house and in foreign lands as Jupiter's placed with Rahu. So she finished her dentistry. She married somebody who was also a dentist who was already living abroad. So she married him and she went abroad and started to work with him. Now, Mars is the eighth lord in the Kal Purush Kundli and also the ruler of the fourth house in a D1 chart. So, working as a dentist, as the Lagna Lord Sun is placed with the second Lord Mercury in the ninth house of long distance travel, her 10th Lord Venus is in the fifth aspect of Rahu from the fourth house. You can see here, 10th Lord being in the fifth aspect of Rahu. So, home and clinic are getting combined. So, she was living in the same building. She was living on the 8th or 9th floor of the building and her clinic was on the first floor of the same building. So, her clinic, her work are all getting connected to the same building along with the residence. Now, the 7th Lord is Saturn and is placed with Mars in the 11th house ruled by Mercury. Mercury also ruled the second house of teeth in both the charts as it is a Vargottama chart. And Mercury is in the 9th aspect of Jupiter in the Navamsa placed with Rahu. So, this validates husband is also connected with the same profession and dentistry and working in foreign lands. 8th Lord Jupiter is in the 7th house and aspecting the 7th Lord, which is Saturn, and also Mars, which is also the 4th Lord of domestic life or domestic home, and which is also the 9th Lord. So, living with husband who is from foreign land, so living from foreign land, and husband's profession is also connected to the 8th house, which is also validated from the D9 chart, as the 7th Lord Saturn is placed in the sign ruled by Jupiter Sagittarius, and the 5th Lord Jupiter is in the 8th house, with Rahu. So husband's profession is also getting connected to the same profession which is dentistry, and in Jupiter and Rahu are placed in the 8th house where a Bhrigu Bindu is also there, or in the Pisces sign. So now, if you validate it further, if you go deeper, you will also see that the third Lord is Venus. And it is in the 8th house under aspect of Rahu from the 4th house. 5th aspect of Rahu from the 4th house. And the 12th Lord is Moon. And 12th Lord Moon is placed in the 3rd house. So, the 12th Lord going in the 3rd house means the lady, what she did, because the 3rd house is also the house of self-enterprise, she started her own dental clinic abroad. But because it is the 12th Lord and Moon going in a inimical sign of Venus, Moon and Venus are not friends. So this was a wasted effort because 12th house is also house of waste and excess. So her own efforts of creating her own dental clinic abroad went to waste. So what happened was her husband forced her to put the dental clinic in his name. So the effort of starting her own dental clinic went to waste as the clinic went to the husband's name. So she eventually lost her own business and it was taken over in the name of her husband. This is also validated if you see by Mars in the 7th house in the Navamsa, and it's placed in the 7th house of partnership, and Jupiter and Rahu are in the 8th house. So husband will be working in the 8th house profession and foreign lands and with Rahu. However, this also shows that with Mars in the 7th house, and Mars also rules her 4th house. So in partnership, she'll be working with her husband. So she worked in partnership with the husband in the dental clinic, though the clinic was in her husband's name. However, Ketu with Venus in the Navamsa, Venus is her 10th Lord, shows that in her married life, she will lose her professional success to husband because it's placed with Ketu and Jupiter is placed with Rahu. So husband's placement or Jupiter's placement, which is the Karaka of husband, placed with Rahu in where her Bhrigu Bindu is, which means in her career she will lose out because Venus being a 10th lord, both in the D1 chart and in the D9 chart, and getting debilitated in the second house of income, which means she didn't make money, she didn't save money for herself, she was earning money for her husband. Most of the money was going into her husband's account. Now, right now she is in the Mercury and Saturn Dasha since roughly about 3 years, and because of being in a Mercury and Saturn Dasha, certain results clicked, especially because Mercury is in the nakshatra of Bharani, ruled by Venus, and with the Lagna Lord Sun. So what happened was, when Mercury and Saturn Dasha started, her husband started to see women outside of marriage, or at least she came to know that her husband is seeing other women outside, and not so very good women outside of marriage, going and seeing them secretively, because of Venus being in the 8th house under the aspect of Rahu, and in the natal chart, in the D9 chart, Venus going into the degradation sign in the 2nd house. But how is Venus getting connected to her marriage most strongly? One is intimacy wise, husband is going and seeing other women, we will be seeing it further. So problem started during the Mercury and Saturn Dasha, especially because as a 7th lord Saturn is with Mars in the Lagna chart in the 11th house of societal connections of friends. So what happened was, she reached out to her societal network, to a friend circle, to her relatives, to seek help, to kind of put it on her husband that he should not do this, he should not be seeing other women outside. And husband felt that she was ostracizing him in his social network, in a family, and he felt that he was losing his reputation, though she was seeking help, and he used that she had disreputed him in the societal connection with friend circle, and he used that to create trouble and even go ahead to even divorce her. So you can see Rahu placed in the Scorpio sign in the 4th house. So Scorpio sign means a upheaval happening in a married life also, especially with Jupiter placed in the 7th house, and in the 8th house Jupiter going with Rahu. So divorce came about to her in the Jupiter and the Saturn Dasha. However, if you want to really validate whether this is going to happen or this happened, you can see by converting the main natal chart, D1 chart, into a chart which is using the Lagna of the Lagna Lord Sun. But before we go there, keep in mind that Jupiter aspects the 11th house while placed in the 7th house in the D1 chart, and Jupiter is in the nakshatra of Satabisha, ruled by Rahu, and so is Saturn in the nakshatra of Ardhara, ruled by Rahu as well. And in the Navamsa, Jupiter is placed with Rahu. So now when we convert the Lagna into the Lagna where the Lagna Lord is placed, or we convert the sign or the house the Sun is placed or the Lagna Lord is placed in as a main Lagna. So now, as we know, Sun was in the Aries sign in the D1 chart. So now, if you're converting the Aries sign into the Lagna where Sun is placed, so Sun obviously will come into the Lagna along with Mercury. So now what happens in her new Lagna or the Lagna Lord's Lagna? So now 7th Lord becomes Venus. This is very, very important, because now the 7th Lord, Venus, in the Navamsa is in the degradation sign with Ketu, denying of marriage. And in the Dasha of Mercury and Saturn, Mercury is her 3rd Lord of self-effort using her hands, and Mercury is also the Lord of the 6th house of service. And in the Navamsa, Mercury is placed in the 4th house in the Scorpio sign of upheavals. Scorpio sign is upheavals and transformation, and so in her Mercury Dasha, upheaval and transformation came to a married life. Connected to a profession also, because Mercury in her natal chart is ruler of the 3rd house of using limbs, but in a D9 chart, Mercury rules the 2nd house of income and teeth, or mouth or face. So this is very potent and it can clearly be seen. And because Venus rules the 2nd house of teeth in the natal chart, in the D1 chart, and placed in the 12th house of clinics and foreign lands, and Rahu aspects Venus in the 12th house, and Mars also rules the 8th house where Rahu is placed. So you can see in her Lagna Lord's Lagna, you can clearly see the results coming out, where her 2nd Lord second house lord Venus is also a seventh lord placed in exaltation sign in the 12th house. So after her marriage, she went abroad because seventh lord is getting connected to the 12th house. However, Ketu is placed in the other sign ruled by Venus, which means she doesn't make money. Her Bhrigu window is where she is doing it more for her family, for her dependents, because Ketu is placed there. And Rahu aspecting Venus. So now when we are converting the Lagna of Sun or the Lagna Lord into the Lagna, now we can see Rahu from the Scorpio sign is aspecting her seventh Lord Venus. So the transformation is coming out because of inclusion of outsiders in a married life aspecting Venus in a Lagna, Lord's Lagna. And the seventh Lord Venus getting into a debilitation sign in the Navamsa. Now, her third Lord is Mercury and placed with the Lagna Lord Sun in the Lagna. But Mercury is in the Nakshatra of Bharani ruled by Venus. And Venus is also the ruler of a seventh house and a second house. So, which means because Mercury is in the Nakshatra ruled by Venus, Venus is in the 12th house. So, wasted effort. And she not making anything out of her own self-effort. Third house. And serving others. Connected to the second house where her Bhrigu Bindu is, connected to profession of dentistry, connected to teeth. Especially because her 8th Lord Mars is also with Saturn in the third house. Saturn, if you know, is when Saturn goes into the third house, it also gives you your own profession. It also makes you work on your own or do something of your own. And since Mercury is combusted by Sun, so the third lord of effort getting into the Lagna. So her standing in society, stature in society, she loses all of it. In a Mercury Dasha, when her husband divorces her, she has to leave the country, she loses her clinic, she loses her friends, she loses stature and dignity in life. She comes back to India and she goes to a village to be with her parents. Parents tell her, you can't be here because we cannot face society because they came from village background. So she came to the city and she started to live in the city in a PG, working for a small clinic, serving somebody for a very, very small amount, just about sustaining, while she lived a very lavish life abroad with her husband. As long as she was married with her husband abroad, she made a lot of she had a good life. Why? Because the seventh Lord Venus is exalted in the 12th house. So because of getting married, she did very, very well. However, if you see, her 4th Lord Moon is in the 7th house. So in a partnership, she does everything for married life. And thus in a partnership with husband, but she loses everything ultimately. Because here, Jupiter also aspects her Moon, the 4th Lord in the 7th house. Jupiter is in the nakshatra of Satabisha ruled by Rahu. And Rahu is placed in the 8th house of upheaval. So through an upheaval, she loses everything of her assets to her husband. The other thing is now in the new Lagna, her 5th Lord is Sun and placed in the Lagna. Though in her D1 chart, Sun is the Lagna Lord. But in the new Lagna, her 5th Lord is Sun placed in the Lagna, but in the nakshatra of Bharani ruled by Venus. And Venus in the Navamsa is getting debilitated, which means in a married life, later on in a Mercury and Saturn Dasha, she also gets separated from her children, and children are of no consequence. And in fact, children also stand by her husband, their father rather than her. And so children also turn against her. Now, divorce is seen in the new Lagna because obviously, as I said, the 7th Lord Venus is in the 12th house, but under the aspect of Rahu. So because of outsiders' influence on the married life, the Lord of the 7th house. And in a D9 chart, in a married life chart, Venus goes in the debilitation sign in the 2nd house with Ketu, and Mars gets in the 7th house. So with a lot of argument, aggression, she loses her married life. Why Saturn is important? Remember Saturn in Mercury Saturn, because Saturn is the Lord of the 7th house in the D1 chart. Saturn rules the 7th house in a D1 chart. And if you see why she lost everything in a Mercury Saturn Dasha is because when you convert the Lagna of the Lagna Lord Sun, so here Sun gets into the Lagna because we converted sun's placement in the Lagna. However, in the Navamsa, sun gets debilitated in the third house of effort. So whatever she did of her own effort, connected to the sign ruled by Venus, connected to a profession, and in the married life, because Venus is the seventh lord, she loses everything, which can be clearly very evident in the D9 chart. So Jupiter going into the 11th house of societal connection shows scandals in society, and Jupiter is an enemy sign ruled by Saturn. Jupiter is also in the nakshatra ruled by Rahu, and Rahu is also aspecting her Venus, 7th lord, in the Lagna lord's Lagna, especially with Saturn also being in the nakshatra of Ardra ruled by Rahu. So Rahu has a very, very potent effect on married life. So if you see in the new Lagna of the Lagna lord, Rahu is aspecting both her Venus, is also aspecting her 4th house and placed in the sign of Scorpio, which is the sign of transformation. So transformation comes from outsider influencing a married life, Venus being the 7th lord, and her domestic life is also affected. So friends, we can say that when you are connecting the Lagna of the Lagna lord and converting, making that as the Lagna, wherever the Lagna lord is placed, the sign of the house into the main Lagna, and then we see results from that. We get very potent results, or we get validated results. Especially we saw that when we converted where a sun, her Lagna lord is placed into the main Lagna, we saw that then her 7th lord Venus got placed in the 12th house in exaltation. She made a lot of good life, good quality of life. However, in the Navamsa, the 7th lord of the new Lagna getting debilitated, which validates that she will lose her money, she will lose her children, she will get divorced, and she will eventually have to leave the country. So we get very, very potent results when we convert the Lagna of where the Lagna lord is placed. We use that house of the sign as the main Lagna, and we see results from that. So whenever we get stuck, or when we want to validate results, we want to see intricate results, we want to see results deeply, we need to deep dive in. So my suggestion to all of you is, see where your Lagna lord is placed, convert that into the main Lagna, and then see results from that. You will get a lot of insight into your life. I've already done a video on these lines, but I wanted to use an actual case study and validate and do it again, so that you don't forget this aspect of the Vedic astrology or Jyotish, because we can see a number of results from a number of Lagnas, and that's why different Lagnas are given to us. So the Lagna lords getting converted into the Lagna will give us potent results, validate some of the results, sometimes uncover some results which may be coming further, especially in the Dasha that you are in. So friends, see where your Lagna lord is placed, convert that into the main Lagna, validate that using the D1 chart or the D9 chart, or specifically connected to other divisional charts, and you'll be very, very surprised where a number of potent results, a number of strong potential results, good, bad, ugly may come out, and that will give you an opportunity also preparing for future life, what situations you may be coming upon, and also deep diving into and seeing why some of the events that went by in your life came to you. So friends, like this video, share this video, and if you're looking for a personal consultation from me, please reach out to me at the links given below. Until some other time, some other video, this is a friend astrologer and guide Irfan signing off. Ciao.